Where are we at? Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's live market update. I'm delighted to see you here. Thank you very much for popping in on today's session. Looking forward to sharing some stuff with you about what's going on and, of course, what could happen next. Just, of course, a little important message just to share with you, just to remind you that this is for educational purposes only. Please remember to do your own due diligence and, of course, remember to manage risk on every trade. Consistent with your trading plan and, of course, your um, financial situation and most importantly, your trading objectives. There we go. Yeah, thank you to, let me just pop into YouTube and give a little hi to everybody. There we go. Feel free to ask questions. It's a little delayed by the time I get out, but I'll keep on checking in and make sure that all is good. Right, let's check out the headlines first of all, of course. And markets keep on going. Somewhat surprisingly, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq hit record highs again, continuing to shrug off shutdown concerns, which shows absolutely no sign of resolution. One wonders whether we're going to break the record that Trump last made on his shutdown when he was last in power. The Fed minutes overnight were received well. It sort of reinforced the telegraphing of a probable rate cut in when they next meet, and maybe even another one before the end of the year, and certainly one telegraphed for January. Middle East geopolitics are also in focus. There's the semblances of a peace plan between Israel and Gaza seems to be taking a little step forward again. It'd be interesting to see how much that's adhered to on both sides. And the jury will be out, I guess, until there's some action rather than just talking. But talking is good. Last time I looked, US futures were mildly positive. Asian markets also generally positive today. Let me just have a quick scan on. Yeah, futures are sort of a bit neutralish at this stage. If we look at Asian markets, the ASX is around about 0.4% to the upside. The Nikkei is having a good day, and Hang Seng is opened to the upside as well. Of course, one of the major events overnight is, of course, or has been, of course, the price of gold. We'll talk about that in a moment. European futures are also pointing to a cautiously positive open. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, just a little bit of a reorganize of screens, etc. Okay, so US dollar index, we saw move through resistance. So surprising that the USD is strong. It was looking very shaky up until about a week ago. And gold obviously tested that key psychological 4,000 level in a week rather than a month. Pulled back a little bit in Asia this morning. We'll check out some charts in a moment. Copper's poured also towards the top of the end of the range. Oil remains range bound also. Bitcoin has held after testing record highs earlier in the week. There was a pullback, but it seems to not be selling. It wouldn't surprise me to see it move back up. Now, of course, one of the impacts of the shutdown is that US data is likely to be delayed. Still no sign of non-farm payrolls from last week. There was talk of it possibly being released this Friday. For today, what's planned is German trade balance. That should happen. Of course, the impact of tariffs will be front and center of what people are thinking on that. And US weekly jobs are also due to be released, but of course, we'll have to see what happens with that. So that's the headlines behind what's happening. I'll just see if there's any chance. Right, yes, there is. Wonderful. Okay, so there you can see the futures. Managed to get some internet this morning on the software. And you can see there that these are flattening as we go. This is even worse than it was a few minutes ago when I last looked. European futures have took a dive. Again, from being positive early, you were seeing selling in oil, we're selling in gold, copper's having a good morning. We're seeing a bit of a recovery in the yen, which has had a bit of a rotten week. The US dollar is dropping off a little bit. That's sort of interesting. If we look at Asian markets, there you go. ASX up 0.4%. And if we just check out on the ASX as it is now live, bit of a bouncy day going on so far. Resources outperforming on the back of gold price. See their materials way outperforming. Lithium stocks have been doing well this week. We'll check in on those in a moment. Financials not having a good day at the office. And if we go to Forex Factory, we'll just have a quick check on the latest data. So you can see there that our inflation expectations did tick up a little bit. It's still about 50-50 as to where the RBA puts rates. There's that weekly jobs number, which is expected to be at 227. Whether that comes out or not is debatable. Also factory orders as well. That German trade balance could be quite important, but we'll see how that pans out. Now, in terms of tomorrow, just for completeness, and since you won't hear from me tomorrow, we've got the RBA governor speaking fairly early in the day. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anything telegraphed there. We've got Canadian jobs and US consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. Those may well come out as the University of Michigan, and so aren't. I think they'll probably come out. And of course, we've got a bank holiday on Monday in the US, so it'll be a quiet day on Monday. Likewise in Japan and Canada. Wow. And the IMF meetings start next week, although markets won't move dramatically on those. It'd be interesting to see if there's any narrative about the ongoing impact of tariff and global slowdown. Okay, so that was a bonus foray into what's showing online. Let's check out some charts. Right, okay, so yeah, just a sky. You can see that everything's going okay. A little bit of a pullback in gold. Maybe should have taken that off. Everything doing okay. Mostly on the ASX, we're seeing resources, as I've already said, going well, and copper and silver both positive, whereas oil and gold. Just change that scanner. There we go. We should be able to scroll down now. There we go. See, goes down a little bit, not dramatically so. And the VIX is slightly up this morning, of course, as we would expect. Here's the Nasdaq daily. You can see this is that's the trade that was on there. Just pop this onto a sort of more normal looking chart. And so there again, record highs last night, just that little bit of shyness today. You can see there, just risk on assets just pulling back a little bit today. We had a little bit of a tick up in the Nasdaq. We can see we've given away that plus some. If we just check out gold, you can see the same position. But the interesting thing about gold is we had that initial sell-off and now we're getting the buyers back in. So we are trading over that 4,000 level on the futures contract. Really quite spectacular. Watch out for 4056 for a continuation. 5,000 this quarter? We shall see. The US dollar index is a little flat today, but you can see there that certainly this week has been a good week. It's taken us to the top of the range. Where there's the momentum to take it over that, it looks dubious at the moment, but this looks like an important level on the futures contract. And a reference copper. Copper is up today, having another pop at this 510 level, which looks really important. And a breach of that, as I suggested, I think last time we met, may see us move towards that 523 level. So around about 12 cents in that. But of course, we've had 5. If we don't get a breach today, that 5-wick reversal is potentially on the cards, and we may see it drop down a little bit. So just keep an eye on that. Oil, as I said, has done pretty well this week. This is on the back of OPEC Plus saying that they're reducing the increases in production. So they are still increasing, but increasing to a lesser degree. That helped oil early part of the week, but it looks as though it's possibly run its course. And not surprisingly, this support here has now become resistance. in terms of today's trading. So we've got that pullback last night. You can see there. Started in the US session, continued into Asia. We're just playing around with that $62 level, and that's sort of interest. Let's just good day to Roger and Brian. Let me just see if I can do anything with the volume. I don't know whether the rest of you are finding it quiet, but let's see if that's any better. Good day, Lita. Hope you're well. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, it would be great if you could just tick that like button if you get a chance at some stage. That would be wonderful. Anyway, back to the charts. So, Bitcoin is certainly been interesting this week. We had that breach of a record, or that close at a record high. You can see there that essentially 123,500 was a closing high. But you can see there we're just a bit pausey as well. Is that enough for now? This has obviously been tested a couple of times previously, both here in mid-August and, of course, that intraday high back here mid-July. So the fact that we're tackling it again is interesting, but we possibly need to just see that buy-in and maybe a move over 125 to suggest that there's upside in the short term. Certainly long term, there appears to be still an enthusiasm to look at cryptos. You can see the VIX is pretty well flat and has been for the week. Market's pretty mellow. Um, so now Aussie yen was an interesting trade yesterday. You can see the daily chart. We talked about this, and it isn't dropping off too harshly, but it looks as though we might be toppy for right now. We've had now two attempts at this 177.70 level. But you can see there we failed to breach it again in this morning's trading. If I just bring that sort of a little closer, and almost suggestive of a double top-ish type sort of formation going on. I'd be watching this 177 level to the downside. We're about 40, we're about midpoint on that, about 44 pips above that. So a breach either side of this could be interesting. Let's just have a look at the US yen. If we bring that on, and not a dissimilar chart really. If we pop it on the daily chart for context, you can see this, the weakness in the yen that's been prevalent all week across most major currencies. That's what's helped the USD up. So it's slightly artificial in terms of you're looking at the US dollar index. But just that little pullback in the daily chart today, just a pause. If we look at yesterday's high, that corresponds to previous price consolidation around this level, maybe even push it up a smidge, around about this 153. So we're looking for a break of 153 to the upside, or possibly a retest to the downside. If we look at the hourly chart, the tipping point on this, if we don't get a move to the upside, maybe that 152 level, possibly pause, so 152.25 level, possibly pause around 152. But if we breach that, we could be on for a big move to the downside, of course. So I'll be watching that with this position here. I should really do this and this too. There we go. So we'll try to stop up to just beneath that one, just beneath that 152 level. All right. If we look at GB pound yen, again a similar story. We sort of peaked on the GB pound yen, and again. Need to lock in some of this profit, I think. So look at the hourly chart. We're pretty well range bound at the minute. I don't like this as much as the US yen because I think we might get into choppy territory here, but may well have about 40 pips to the downside. I suspect. That's sort of interesting. And Let's have a look at the Aussie USD. Some interesting price action on the hourly chart. So with the USD strength, we saw over the course of a couple of weeks there, we sort of came down from those highs, and now we're stuck in a range on the daily chart between these two key levels around about 66.20 to the upside, around about 65.75 to the downside. We translate that to an hourly context, and you can see there's a potential for a move up here. The only issue with this is that I think this is quite noisy in this area. You can see already a rejection candle to take it up to 66. So 66 could become a temporary resistance. So I'm not liking this chart very much, really, for right now, to be absolutely honest. Um, so we're a bit flattish on the currencies. One I did like, which is worth keeping an eye on, I think, and possibly my chart of the day, is the Swiss yen or on the hourly chart. You can see there we've had a few tests yesterday of this level at 190. Don't look convincing at all today, although we are in a really short-term range. Would be patient for this and see what happens, possibly when the European session opens, maybe a breach of 190. Provides an opportunity to the downside, which looks fairly significant. Um, that would, in fact, create this sort of head and shoulders type pattern. So I'm going to make that my chart of the day. The Swiss yen 1 hourly. Be patient for a breach of 190, which could suggest a possible move to down towards that 189.40 level. Okay, looking at some of the ASX stocks, we had this pullback on 360 ASX. Iluka we've been looking at all week, and of course that's now back up to this key level, just beneath $8. And so we wouldn't be, even though it's up today, we'd actually, if you're not in this already, then it may be worth just waiting. If you are in this already, perhaps taking some off might be prudent in line with the fact that we're approaching a resistance. This stock is just nuts. Okay, I've been talking about this forever, and I hope some of you took advantage of this. It just continues to find new level after new level after new level. Slight pause there for a couple of sessions, and now we're sort of rocking and rolling. We're over $20. Lots of upside in this, lots of demand for rare earths, which isn't going to go away. And so LYC continued to be one of my favorites. As I said, the lithium stocks were of interest, and LTR nearly did it. They pushed over $1. I would be looking at this where it is in the last hour of trading, just to see what's happening at this stage. It is $1.03, but we want it to close in the top half of that candle, really to suggest we've got a breakout. And again, you can see context here and the importance of that dollar level back here, here, and here. Possible move to the upside, maybe towards this 127 level in the medium term. Maybe a pause around 115, looking at previous swing low there. And of course, we need to see it through. If we don't see it through, we could see a move back down towards 85 or so. But I like Liontown. I'm going to make Liontown my chart of the day. Want to keep an eye and check in on it at the last hour. But PLS also very similar in terms of another lithium stock rocking and rolling. It's through what looks like a key level at around about this 264 on the daily chart, possibly move up to 288. And so that's also obviously worth keeping an eye on. Let's just do a quick shimmy. These are L1G and ADB. ADB is looking really good, actually. Really strong move again. We got this breakout that closes the gap. Now we might be moving into territory which might see it get a little choppy. NIC I haven't looked at for a while. Nickel Industries, but this looks good as well. Following through on the commodity excitement. This is back up to a key level around about $80. If we put this on a weekly chart for context, you can see again a price point which has been regularly visited over the months. Um, Not sure of how much upside there is in this, even though technically it looks interesting for a buy, possibly up to 85 in the first instance. But actually, a very good company fundamentally, so maybe worth consideration for the long-term hold. Domino's Pizza look as though they're reversed a bit early on this one to jump up and down about. But if you want something that's been battered down, this may be worth a little look at. You can see it was supported around about that $14 mark, dropped beneath it, and now we're retesting it. So technically, if we do get a breach, could be a move up to around about 14.91, which would be a nice return. Keep that one on your radar, and that I am going to difficult to see anything that's going wrong today. I'll leave that up because we might come back and revisit that. Let me just check a couple of quantities looking interesting for a potential move to the upside after trading in a range, but as yet hasn't broken through. And BVS continues to look really strong. This is a really strong chart, actually, I have to say. So we got this earnings bump, and then we got this 5-week play here around 322, 330. No, again, Mike, 332. The move through that to 339 looks significant. And again, if we look at the longer term, I'm going to go all the way back to April 2021 to see at this level. Could be a move. If we look at the key price level on the monthly chart, then it's probably around about that 350 level. Um, but it is a long, I mean, it's over 4 years ago. So the fact that this still sees the buyers coming in is very positive. The other one I haven't checked on for a while, but I thought was possibly worth a look was Zipco, but it's not actually doing very well. So just watch, keep an eye on Zip. I don't think it's going to happen today, but this is a chart worth keeping on your radar. 480 is the level of interest. Obviously, if we look right back, it hasn't been here again since for 4 years. A potential move up towards 527 might be on the cards. Looking at that, that would be a very healthy return. So keep an eye on this. Um, in the short term range between 423 and 470 at the moment. So, but you need to be patient, wait for the right setups. Into the US market, Nvidia look as though they're retesting that high there and extending hours trading hours slightly up. That's worth keeping an eye on, as of course. Let me just do a um, let's have a look at Tesla. Which after that pullback are just sort of struggling a little bit to find feet. That 460 level looks interesting. We had an intraday test of a long-term resistance. You can see there. So not jumping up and down about Tesla for right now as a buy, although some might see it as an opportunity to do so. And then let's just check out AMD, who went completely nuts. There we go. So AMD have had a good week, it can be said. We're up in excess of 30% for the week. It just keeps on piling upwards. 183 up to 240. That's just staggering. That was the level we told you to watch. Corporate news there. Continuation of this going forward. I'm just going to have a look at other. Is it? Just want to check out MU as well, just to see if it's a. Again, all of these semiconductors are doing really well. Okay, so the daily chart on MU suggests that the buyers are back in. If we look at this level at 199, so that round 200 level, I'm going to make this my chart of the day for the US. If we breach 200, this is obviously record highs. Really strong session yesterday. A little bit of extended hours positivity. That's looking good for a continued move. It is still a handful of tech stocks that are piling the markets higher. Anyway, guys. Okay, cool, Brian. Thank you. I'm glad I did have a look at that. Thank you for the heads up. Anyway, I'll love and leave it for this Thursday. I hope that's been interesting, useful, giving you some things to have a look at. As always, take care, trade safe. We'll see you again um, very soon. Um, so enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll catch you later. Bye bye for now.